Dover drag strip, 1991, as it is today. We are looking at the road we used to drive in and pay your, I guess it was $3 at the time to go in and to go to the spectator side. Looking off in the distance would be where the pit area and the starting line would be. And this is the pit road, not as we remember it, but and this is the buildings that were there from the when they had the peat moss company. Just looking over at what used to be Dover drag strip. We're looking out onto the road where you used to have to pull in now. Just spanning back and forth. As you can see, the amount of gravel that was removed out of here is phenomenal. It's all gone. Looking out to where the track exactly was. I'm standing on the starting line right now, approximately, looking directly north the way the track would go. I'm going to zoom in with the lens now, and that area down there between the two trees is actually the finish line of the track, which is still there. You can see how far down they've taken this whole area. It's just been completely strip mined. There's nothing left, just a huge vacant field. Now I'm looking at where the spectator side used to be, way back to the tree line, spanning back around. Now I'm looking over onto the pit side. Obviously, not as any of us remember it, pit side. Now we're going up pit road. As you remember, we used to have to drive up a hill, pay your $7 entrance fee, and then back down and in. Well, that hill is gone along with everything else around here. And it's a direct ride straight up on to, I guess this is still part of the old pit road, down into the inspection lane area. Now, this is approximately where the inspection lanes were, and obviously you used to have to drive up a hill. Now what I'm looking at is the old hunk of concrete that they used to have to jack the cars up onto for the inspection, on the inspection lanes. It's down underneath this roadbed right here, and then looking off onto the distance where the hill used to be, and there's the hunk of concrete. Got a little carried away and kind of focused in, but that's the old concrete slab where they used to jack the cars up and check the front ends in the inspection lane area. It goes all the way across. It's still all right intact. Then off onto the distance of where the track used to be. They dropped it down about 75 to 100 feet of fill completely was taken out of here for gravel purposes. I tried to get for you to look. This is where the scales used to be. They just dug the scale up, and there's a huge hole where the scale used to be. I'm standing on the finish line looking back towards where the starting line used to be. They've put a tree line in here so you can't even really see where it used to be as far as scanning back and forth. But I am on the finish line right now, which is still here intact. And behind me is the shutdown area, which you'll get to see in a moment. Over here, they've got some new buildings they've put in here, and there's going to be a whole lot more according to Poling Corporation. This is going to be their main headquarters in a few years. And coming up, there's going to be a lake that nobody ever saw before because it was never there. There's the lake. And now we are looking down. This is the shutdown area of Dover Drag Strip. You can see where the pavement changes from the special asphalt to just regular blacktop for the shutdown. Scanning back and forth, looking on both sides. This is where the return road would be over there on your right-hand side. Back onto the finish line again. I'm up on the hill now where the rock cut used to be. To get a little height and see if we could scan down and see a little bit different angle of the track itself. There's the buildings. And there's where it all ends. The finish line. And just the overgrowth is just phenomenal. I can't even get a good shot. Here's the famous rock cut that we all went by at well over 100 miles an hour. It's hard to believe that they would even allow us to run there with a rock cut just jagging out from the edge of a drag strip, but there it is. I'm sure we all remember seeing it from time to time going on through. So now we're in the vehicle and we're just going down the shutdown area, panning off onto the left-hand side there, looking back over. If you look real close, you can start to see some of the old, as they call it, guardrails, the fence with the wire hanging on it. Okay. This is the side of the track. This is the return road. I'm standing on the track, on the shutdown area, looking at the return road right there. And now I'm over on the left-hand side of the shutdown area. I'm looking into where I'm sure a few of you remember where Danny Capola put his super stock Dodge down in the weeds. Well, he'd have a nice soft landing now. There's all kinds of soft trees and bushes down there now. And you can just see the pavement and how broken up and the grass is growing through. There's some of the guardrail I was talking about. Off on the side there, it's still intact. Yeah, a couple of people from the work in the plant down there come up here and play games with their cars up on the shutdown area and do a few burnouts and so on and so forth. But the overgrowth is just phenomenal. Found out one thing, it's very difficult to video from while you're riding in a vehicle, as these films will do show. There's some more burnouts. Guys playing around with their non-posi vehicles. Okay. Didn't realize the camera was on while I was getting out of the vehicle, and this is why we have a little bit of, where the heck are we? We'll get settled here in just a moment, though, and it'll all come around to us. Okay. Now, we're at the end of the shutdown looking back. This is looking back all the way, and over to your left there is the return road. I'm going to try to walk over towards the return road some, see if I can get some of the angled up in there. This is where everybody had to make the turn, and there's the return road straight ahead. As you can see, it's just overgrown phenomenally. It's just, it hasn't seen any use in quite a while, so. Now I'm walking up to the famous, I think it was the only drain that they had at Dover Drag Strip. And for whatever reason, they had to put it right at the end of the shutdown area. In later years, I don't know, but there's the famous drain that everybody used to drive into. For whatever reason, I tried to get a close-up of the grates. I could see them, but the camera really didn't pick up the grates there. But everybody used to drive into them. Now we're going, and my driver didn't know that I wanted him to go up the return road, so we kind of had to make a hard left here. And as you can see, we kind of got out of control there for a moment. Now we're going up the return road that hasn't been driven on, and I would have to say some time, and it sure shouldn't have been driven on because it wasn't exactly the smoothest ride of the day by any means, but we are continuing up the return road, and I'm hanging on for dear life as we're dodging trees and everything else that gets our... Here's that lake again. They turned this into a 90-acre lake after they took all the peat moss out of this place. 90 acres. Unbelievable. The fellas that bought this piece of property sure doing what they were buying when they bought it. They made some money off of it. Between selling the gravel and then the humus, I'd hate to think how many dollars was made here. It's a shame they couldn't have left the track intact, though. We're continuing back up the return road, or shall I say we're attempting to go up the return road. And it's, as you can see, I'm trying to hold on, and it just hasn't been driven on in a few days anyway, and it's anything but smooth. The trees are hanging down, we're dodging them, and sure does bring back memories, though. Actually, it's kind of scary thinking about driving up this return road, and right off to your right, there were cars charging down at well over 100 miles an hour with only that little guardrail between you and them in case of the accident. This is where the return road ends now, because they have literally taken this whole mountain away and just strip mined the whole thing for gravel. I tried to get as much of the where we used to go. Straight ahead is where you used to go up and get your time slips. And off to your left, well, that was never there. That was just a huge mountain. Now we're back in the vehicle, and we're coming back down around, and we're coming on the only road now to leave the place. And we're coming back down the inspection lane road in the van again, and we're actually heading back out towards the main road. And as you can see, I'm looking at what used to be Dover Drag Strip, but now it's just a big hole in the ground with nothing left. It really makes you sad. I'm sure we all had many a good day here. I sure did. You can see where the trees are, some of the telephone poles where they raised them up to the ground level and so on. This is the road in between there is where you used to have to go up and get into the spectator area between these two barns. That building was put there by Best Gravel Company. And coming up is the sign where Dover Drag Strip, here it is, where Dover Drag Strip sign used to be.